Alright, so some people have asked me to do this, and I've been wanting to do this, so let's take a little deeper look at my engine here. This is a 2022R. The bottom end is a 22R block, which is 2.4 liters. The top end is from a 20R, which is 2.2 liters. The difference is the 20R is more free-flowing. It'll rev higher, so you can make power at a higher rate. So I made a little list of things that I can go over that I've done. So we could start at the air fuel. We'll start with the carb. So from LC Engineering, I ordered they have the performance kits, and with that performance kit came this fuel pressure regulator, this Weber 3838, and this really great spiral adapter that I have liked a lot, and I had to do some other modifications to keep it when I did the swap over to the 20R head. So it'll be kind of interesting to go into that. Next we could take a look, next I'll talk about, let's see what's on the right, the spiral adapter. Okay, so the intake's a 20R. I did a little bit of port and polishing, so I guess we can talk about how I made this spiral adapter work. So the spiral adapter fits a 22R intake. This is a 20R intake. So if you notice, there's another plate below it. This plate right here, sorry, I bashed my fingernail. Looks like I'm wearing fingernail polish. I'm not trying to flip anybody off. So this plate right here is the adapter to fit the stock carb. So instead of the stock carb, I actually put on this spiral adapter. So that worked out really well. I really like the way this setup is working out. This spiral adapter definitely doesn't leak. I haven't had any problems with it, and it looks really good. So I really like that thing. This Weber 3838 certainly isn't good for fuel, but it's okay. Well, let's talk about the 3838. I really like it. Very quick throttle response, very enjoyable. I bought one with a manual choke. That was stupid. I think that's mainly for people that want to just take the choke off, because I also have an air horn on under here. I'm not going to take this off right now, but I have an air horn on under here, a really small one that's made, I don't think Weber makes it, but another company makes it. Maybe Weber makes it, I don't know. They claim in bench results they're getting like 5 extra horsepower from it. Who knows? I don't know. You know, further atomizing the air. That's also what this spiral adapter is supposed to achieve. It's supposed to spiral and help atomize the fuel as it heads into the combustion chamber. So speaking of in here, so I did a little bit of, I opened up I ported this a small amount, the intake on the inside. All right, I didn't do a lot. I don't have a flow bench or anything like that, so you know, I can't attest for the results. But I just contoured it to match up with the exits on this spiral adapter a little bit better. So to make these 20Rs work for the 22R, you will need this. This was kind of painful, so because the one for the 22R, I think it'll kind of come in this way too much, and then you know it won't work. So this is a 20R. You know, there's a lot of information about this. I wish I could remember a little bit better. I rebuilt this engine a year ago. Okay, so let's talk about the head. The head's a 20R, lightly port and polished on both ends. I could go more into that later. So let's look at my little list. We've got stuff on the list. Right, cam springs. So it's got cam springs from 22RE Performance. These cam springs are a little bit heavier than stock cam springs, so you can rev a little higher without worrying about floating a valve, which obviously would destroy your engine. Well, it'd do some bad stuff. Let's just say that. So the camshaft is a 268. It's an engine builder camshaft, but it's actually, I bought it from the guy that ground it. He used to do the stuff for engine builder. Engine builder, he finally retired, or is in the process of retiring, or he retired 2 years ago, something like that. But yeah, I still see him on the forum sometimes, but he's retired. So I actually went to the guy that makes it. I think, oh, here it is. Redline cams and cranks. Cool guy. I don't know, he works out of his garage. He seems to be pretty skilled, but check out his website. I have had no problems with his cams. I've really, this cam's great. This cam's great. I love the way this thing idles. It's the 268 torquer. He's got more aggressive ones, but I've really liked this one. So let's see, next on the list. So we've got, let's go to the headers. So these actually came on the truck. They're hooker headers. You know, they're a little bit warped, so I've had trouble getting them to seal properly. I think Felt Pro, that's what I have on there for the gasket right now. They're the only ones that'll seal because they're super thick and made for wonky parts. So yeah, great, wonderful. They're headers, like I said, they came on the truck. I plan on putting the LC Engineering long tube headers on here. Just, money, right? Money and time. Let's see, next, right, Pro oil pump. So down here, I have the Pro oil pump. I also have the adjustable oil pump. Some of them do, some of them don't. Hopefully this wind's not affecting the mic too much. So I had to buy the setup. So power steering reserve, the pump. Now this pump isn't actually attached. If people want to ask me questions about this, we can talk about that later. You're not going to run into this problem too much unless you get a really old head like I did. I got a really good deal on this head. I've actually bought that whole engine for $100, and the head had been completely redone by a shop. There's kind of a story behind that, but I got a really good deal on it, so life goes on. I paid $100 for it. Oh, I wanted to talk about these half moons. This is something else that the 22RE Performance makes, and now some other companies do it as well. These are great. Get these. Replace your stupid rubber ones. These are wonderful. They go on the front and the back. They're wonderful. They're great. Okay, they're like the same price, and they last forever. You never have to change them out. They're great. Okay, back to the power steering. So here we have the pump. We have the power steering box down here, which is off of I don't know, an 87 or something, because I am running high steer under here, so I've done that conversion. So totally different steering geometry. Instead of push-pull and side to side, it's much better. You don't get torque steer when you brake like the old trucks did. Okay, so we talked about the power steering. Right, so you have to just, you just need to get all the parts, but they all bolt on except for this missing bolt here if you have this old head. Otherwise, you're going to have a bunch of aluminum right here and a bolt hole right here, and that's where you'll bolt that one into, and that is certainly better. That's definitely what you want. So, like, we could talk about, let's see, what do we got next? Okay, mechanical fuel pump. Yeah, let's talk about that. So the mechanical fuel pump, it's gone. Those things are pretty reliable as long as they're OEM. The other ones will tend to dump. Yeah, I wrote all my notes on my voter registration because voting is a ritual. Don't do that. But the mechanical fuel pump normally goes right here, and the OEM ones are pretty good, except for they're in a terrible place because they get heat soaked because they're right next to the engine, so you get super hot fuel going into your carb. That can become a problem. So I have electronic fuel pump. It's just one of those little externally mounted ones. I wouldn't recommend that. I wouldn't not recommend it, but it's certainly not the best. It would be better to have an in pump, which means getting your hands on a fuel tank from a 22RE would work, or just you can also install that sort of thing into your own fuel pump. I think it's a fairly easy process. They're just a bit more expensive. So for the price of one of those, I could go through like 3 of these fuel pumps. So for now, the fuel pump stays. Okay, so what's next? So let's talk about this fuel filter. Okay, a lot of people are deleting their return, but really all you need to do is get one of these fuel filters that has the main exit, and then also when it needs to return, this will kind of back up, and then it will send this through your return. So you don't have to delete your return. You just need a fuel pump with 1 inlet, 2 outlets, and one of those outlets is a pressurized return. Okay, and then you hook it up to your return. I've addressed this in other videos, and I can go into further detail because this does seem to be something people are a bit confused about. So we can go into that. I'm happy to go into whatever anybody likes. I guess I might as well maybe get a channel going. That might be kind of cool. Okay, so electronic fuel pump. Let's fuel filter return. We talked about that. So let's talk about this brake master cylinder. It looks nice and new, right? Yeah, it's because it's the 1-inch brake master cylinder that goes along with the V6 brake upgrade that I have in here. This doesn't really pertain to a 22R or 2022R, but it's a great upgrade. And I guess I probably bought that from Marlin Crawler or Yoda Masters. Hard to say. All right. Let's talk about a little bit of the bottom end. I bought the crankcase, or I bought the crankshaft, a reground crankshaft when I rebuilt this engine a year ago. I just went ahead and bought another one. I could have had mine ground, it just would have taken more time. So I just opted, because I lived right next to, what was it, Yoda shop, I think? Yoda shop? Great guys, I think in Washington, southern Washington. I was in northern Oregon at the time. I'm in Oklahoma right now. So I bought a crank from them. Everything went fine. The rods are H rods from LC Engineering. Those are Chinese rods. If I was going to do it again, I wouldn't. I'd keep the stock rods. They're forged. And so there's no reason to get into that debate, but they're OEM, they're forged, they're made in Japan. They're better. Okay, that's just I mean, sure, those other ones, they're good for 600 horsepower. I mean, if you're getting 600 horsepower out of your 22R, then you're awesome. You're way more awesome than I am, so good for you. Let's see, next on the list, crank scraper. So I put one of those LC Engineering crank scrapers in here. I don't know, it's supposed to help with parasitic drag. It lightens the weight of the crank itself because it doesn't pick up the excess oil. So, you know, maybe the engine's a little more free-flowing. It's hard to say, you know. I will say that when I rebuilt this engine, the other one was kind of tired. When I rebuilt this, my goodness, that 20R, this truck is a blast. It revs because I can trust it, because of those upgraded cam springs we talked about earlier, and the camshaft. This thing, it just goes and goes and goes. In fact, I'm kind of thinking about putting a high output cam in here because of the fact that this thing is such a rever now. It likes it likes it up top. It's got great bottom end, mid range, and top end torque for being what it is. The truck is a lot of fun to drive. So, exhaust. I don't have a cat on there or anything. I just have like a master flow. The exhaust looks like shit because that's how I decided when I first bought a welder I was going to practice to weld, was welding together an exhaust, and I'll show you a little bit of it. It's nasty, you know, so whatever. You know, these are my welds. They'll probably break at some point. They're ugly and nasty, and then there's the, you know, so whatever. Little suspension stuff. I have a W56. Again, that's not engine related. I have a W56. It's going to go in here. It's got a short shifter already on it and fun stuff. It's a Marlin Crawler rebuilt transmission that I bought for quite a bit of money. And you have to shorten the drive shafts and do other work. You know, that I can explain all that too, especially when I do it. I'll make videos about it. I did the V6 brake upgrade. I was kind of talking about that, but I still have the covers over my brakes. My front axle's been rebuilt, all that. I mean, I rebuilt it. I did all that. So, let's let's see, what else can I go over on this thing? Yeah. Oh, let's talk about the GM one-wire alternator. Okay, so I went through a nightmare putting these things in because LC Engineering has a part number up, and if you order that part number, it is the right size alternator. Everything looks right, but it is not a GM one-wire alternator. So if you go to Napa and you give them that part number and they give you that alternator, you're not going to be very happy, because that shit it ain't gonna work. So yeah, I couldn't run any accessories. Weirdly, the truck wouldn't die though, so somehow it was supplying some amount of power, even though it did not have a regulator. It was somehow supplying an amount of power that would never allow this truck to die unless I like used the headlights or something, but otherwise I could run it indefinitely. So that was kind of interesting. But yeah, so I finally have a GM one-wire alternator. It's all dirty now, but it's actually chrome, which I didn't want, but you know, COVID, and that's all I could find, and blah blah blah. And yeah, it's fantastic. I really like it. I've heard other people complain about them, this and that. I have had no issues with them. You know, I've extra grounded this engine too to make everything work, so I got a ground strap there. I've grounded the alternator itself, and then I just put one of those spark plug booty things over it because it's so damn close to the headers. And then I've got the standard grounds, but I redid them all. And then blah blah blah. So radiator, yeah, it's just a stock replacement radiator. It's not OEM. It's like whatever that company is, and their little welds failed already, so that thing's kind of wiggling around in there. Thanks guys, good job. Throttle's pretty much stock. We could talk about throttle stuff if you guys need to know how to do that. How's it going? All right, well, I think this about finishes it up. All right, sorry guys, I'm gonna finish this video in here. I had a guy that was a little bit excited. You know, he'd had a few natty lights and wanted to have a conversation about some trucks, so I had to stop what I was doing. But just to finish off, so that's just kind of an overview of the engine. I'd like to talk more about this engine if people are interested. That'd be cool to have a little join like kind of the community of people making Toyota videos. I think it's a lot of fun, and I like listening to them. I like watching them. So maybe I could make some. So I've got, like I was saying, I've got a W56. It's got a short shifter on it. This transmission was rebuilt by Marlin Crawler, which you know, they're supposedly just fantastic at doing that. So I've had it. I've actually had that part almost the longest of anything, but it's a huge undertaking, and it's not that big of an undertaking, but it is an undertaking, and it's. Though I have amassed most of the parts that I need, the drive shafts are really where the money or where the inconvenience is, because either I have to buy 2 new drive shafts or I have to have the ones that I have on there modified. Well, I can do one at a time. I don't need 4-wheel drive right now. But so if I can't buy new ones, then I don't have my truck, and it is my daily driver, so I wouldn't have my truck for the time that obviously didn't have a drive shaft. And because these old 85s, they have a different flange, it's actually not that easy to just like snag another, you know, I can't just go to a junkyard. I mean, I might get lucky, but probably not. So I'm gonna be kind of motivated to do that. I'm gonna be kind of motivated to do that and get that transmission in there. That'll be a lot of fun. Tons of other stuff. Maybe even, you know, that truck's body, the paint's just terrible. The frame's pretty good and all that, but the body's terrible. The frame doesn't have any rust. It's got a little bit of surface rust. Nothing that couldn't be easily, you know, fixed. And so yeah, sorry, I'm getting distracted, but let's do some Toyota work, huh? Yeah, that'd be fun. You know, let's talk some Toyota. I'm not just into you know, solid axles or 4-wheel drives.
I actually really don't even take it off-road. In fact, I live in Oklahoma and I don't even know if there's a place to take things off-road here. It's like real flat. So I like Celicas and I just like the 22Rs, or I really like these people that have been doing diesel swaps on Toyotas. I'm so sorry, I haven't watched his videos in a while, and I'm totally spacing his name right now, but he's that awesome dude in Washington that has built those awesome Toyotas. Why can't, I know his last name's kind of hard to pronounce for me. Bro, I've never heard it pronounced, but I can't even remember his dang first name. But he's an awesome dude, and he's one of the reasons I want to do this. Also, Project Wrong Way. Project Wrong Way, that's an awesome, totally frustrating channel that it's infuriating to watch because you're like, what are you doing? But sometimes you just got to accept that people do things their own way, and I think that's awesome. And him and his wife arguing all the time and all the tension there. And I don't even know if they put out a video lately, but I hope they're still going at. I hope they're not still going at it, but I hope they're still doing those videos. I'm going to check right after this. I don't know when this video will get any traction. I don't, maybe I'll try to tag it with the Toyota buzzwords, man, but I don't know how that works. So, so people are asking me to do some more Toyota videos. I think it'd be a lot of fun to do. So, I don't know if I'm supposed to come up with like a catchphrase, it's Toyota time, I don't know. But yeah. How do you end these things? Like, share, and subscribe.